Okay. Hello and welcome to the webinar tonight, 3 Common Beliefs That Stop Grieving Women from Healing. If we have men watching this webinar tonight, I apologize. You are indeed included in this webinar. I just find that these beliefs and behaviors tend to be more for the ladies, but men are more than welcome. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Elaine from Trull Social, who's our producer this evening, and she is working and doing her magic behind scenes. Thank you, Elaine, for being with me. Before we begin, I always like to bring everybody into the present moment. We've all had hectic, crazy days, and I find that the best ahas and the best work happens when we're focused in the now and in the present moment. So please close down any programs that you are not using while you're listening to this webinar. Turn off your cell phones. This is your time. And to get the benefit of all the information I'm going to be sharing with you, it is important that you take this time and you're not splitting your brain with other tasks. So if you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes and just allow yourself to settle into the chair. And just allow your breathing to fall naturally. Pay attention to it, the rise and fall of your chest. A nice deep breath in and let it out. Another deep breath and you can release it. This time, as you take a nice deep breath and you release it, I'd like you to smile. That's it. All right, let's come back to the webinar now. And we'll go on to the next slide, please. I can't go back to yesterday because I was a different person. I'm sure a lot of you would love nothing more than to go back to yesterday, to have another moment, another opportunity. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. You may be familiar with this quote. It's from Alice in Wonderland, or perhaps you've seen the movie. I'm guessing there's a few nods out there. Then you'll be familiar with this quote. It's when Alice tumbles down the rabbit hole. And I'm sure this is how you would describe how you felt after the loss or the death of a loved one, that you too had fallen down a rabbit hole. Perhaps you are struggling to make sense of your new world and it doesn't quite fit in yet. I really resonated with this quote when I was going on my grief journey. We truly do wish we could go back for another moment, another chance, another opportunity, and another yesterday. Unfortunately, all we have now is the present moment and the future that's opening up ahead of you. As with any significant event in your life, you are changed by it. almost like an initiation. There is the event, you grow because you gain knowledge and wisdom that you didn't have prior to it. And just like our friend Alice recognizes, she too was changed after her adventure. So, in a sense, I like this quote because Alice shows us how we can begin the task of acceptance. I'm really truly honored that you're keeping me company, and I'd love you. Why not come and sit next to me in this chair? Get comfortable and settle in because we too are going on a journey. For those who don't know me or have never met me, I'm DeButte, a personal coach specializing in grief. I'm also an author of Grief's Abyss and your guide, if you'll allow me. You may be wondering if you're in the right place. Well, if you've experienced any loss, such as a divorce, a relationship breakup, the death of a loved one, or you are not grieving or you are grieving, but perhaps you even feel stuck or that something is missing in your life, then yes, you are in the right place. Congratulations, because I really would like to take this moment to thank you for showing up. You see, you could so not have attended, and truly, you do have the perfect reason for not showing up. After all, you are going through a grief. Showing up shows that you have made a commitment, and it takes commitment just to show up. And in doing so, you have proven to yourself that you're ready to take action. Yes, indeed, you are grieving, but I suspect wanting to feel better or finding another way, getting back to your life is important to you. Definitely taking action and showing commitment are the first things my clients need to demonstrate to me. It shows me that they're ready and I can then coach them. Most of all, I need them to want to take this action and be committed to their own healing. Again, congratulate yourself for taking this first step and thank yourself for doing so. This webinar has been a culmination of 3+ years of my journey, which is where I began to gain clarity into the journey that I undertook. And I can now share it with you. As well, I've combined my understanding with a lot of the new neuroscience data that's coming out now to back up some of my own conclusions or discoveries, and I'll be sharing some of these with you. I do hope you will stay to the end, as I have a free template to give to you so that you can see just how grieving can affect different aspects of your life. It's called the Grief Inventory, and I promise I'll give you the link at the end. Before jumping in, I'd just like to explain how this webinar will work. So by the end of our time together, you will have a much better understanding and how not to buy into these beliefs. You will discover why going it alone isn't such a great idea. The importance of putting on your own mask first, and understanding your emotions are truly your friend. As we'll be spending a little time together, I'd like to share a little bit about my journey so you can see that I've had personal experience and I truly understand how confusing the grieving process can be. So by sharing a little of my journey, hopefully it'll give you a little bit more of an understanding into yours. We will then talk about next steps, which I am actually excited to share more about my 4 new webinars and their benefits. Next slide, Elaine.
It's there, Anne.
Sorry. So this is my journey. You may recall your Greek mythology, where the hero sets off on a journey, faces some type of challenge, is challenged in many ways, and eventually finds a way back home. They are then welcomed back by their community, and there's usually a big party afterwards in their honor. This is how I came to see my own grief. It was indeed a journey. You see, this, I believe, is how you continue to learn and we grow as humans. When your life is going smoothly, you flow along. Why would you change it? Your life is good. But are you learning anything? Well, contentment, perhaps. That was exactly where I was. My life was going really well. I was happy at work. Life truly was good. I didn't realize it at the time, but my challenge, my quest was about to begin. It was just one morning, like any others. I had gone to work and was getting myself organized so I could begin my day. The phone rang, and it was my mum letting me know that my dad had been taken to hospital. Unfortunately, he would die later before I got there, and all I kept thinking afterwards was how I didn't get to say goodbye. This is my grief's abyss, which was about an ending and then a series of quick changes thereafter. This one event would turn my world upside down, and I would find out what it was like to feel grief's clutches. It would seem my nurse training had taught me all about death, but it had not equipped me with the tools on how to deal with personal loss. I would go into shock. I felt numb and floated this way through life for quite a bit until it wore off. Then I was left to feel immense pain. Not only was I in pain, but I was overwhelmed with life, and my emotions were so intense and unruly that everything began to become a chore. You see, I had never experienced anything like this before. I had no point of reference. Life would continue on the outside. The sun still shone, but I would go into my own darkness. What I really needed was somebody to help me, to explain to me what the heck was happening and what I could expect. And really, what was this grieving process? For I was truly clueless. The next phase I noticed in my journey, I would call the neutral zone, lost in the forest, where everything, as you are aware, if you've been in a forest, it can look the same and you can quickly get turned around. My journey with grief continued like this just for a while. I felt totally lost. Nothing in my life appeared to make sense. I would take time off work. I sought professional help, but that proved pointless, and certainly no one did give me the information on what to expect or any words of wisdom to guide me. It would be much later on, long before I realized my life was actually in transition. My old way of life had gone, and the new one had yet to make its appearance. During this transition time, I sought the help of a coach, and it was she who supported, guided, and helped me pick up the pieces. She also taught me how to untangle my emotions and my beliefs while helping me relate more to my values and my needs. These are all vital in helping you heal and connect with self. It would take about another year for the pieces to fall truly into place. By then, I had decided to retire. I am so happy I did seek help, for I don't know how long I would have continued lost in these woods, my thoughts uncertain for sure of which way just to go. Pleased to say, eventually I found my way. Here is where our heroes find their way back. And that's what it felt like I was doing. It was like a slow climb up this mountain. And then once I got to the top, I could see my new beginnings and I could receive my hero's welcome. On looking back, this journey, this process, had turned a tragic event of loss into an opportunity, one that allowed me to discover what I wanted to do with the next chapter of my life. I was determined to demystify the grieving process by understanding it from both an intellectual and an emotional level. This desire led me to go into training to become a grief coach so that I could help others heal as I had. A year later on, I would be certified as a Heartbreak to Happiness coach, and I also authored my first book. You see, if I, by having some medical knowledge as a nurse, and this hadn't helped me, how did others manage? I wondered. By now, I had successfully turned my grieving time around so that Dad's death had personal meaning for me, but in a positive way. I could talk about him quite happily without the floods of tears or that pain in my heart. I could so easily have allowed myself to drown instead of climbing back to life and allowing myself to be welcomed home by my community. Okay, that's the shortened version. Time now to talk about what you came for. Belief number 3, going it alone. I call it the going it alone syndrome. You might wonder what the heck it is. I like to think of it as a faulty belief or thinking. How many of you actually question your beliefs or your thoughts? You see, many of your beliefs don't even belong to you, but they came to you through your parents, grandparents, teachers, friends, society, and you may have absorbed many of these without question. How many of you have heard this one? Time heals all wounds. So what do you believe? Yes, time will heal, but healing the heart takes a little bit longer. Let's say you had a broken leg. Wouldn't you be gentle with yourself? You would also need some help to move around. And then once the cast was off, I'm sure you wouldn't expect to walk well on it afterwards, would you? I'm sure no. You would need to go to physio and do strengthening exercises. Perhaps you would continue to walk with crutches, walking stick, or a cane for support. So why wouldn't you expect to do the same for your broken heart? Perhaps you may think, well, death and loss are normal. Why do I need help? Or perhaps it didn't even cross your mind. You see, if you believe time will heal, chances are you wait around and do nothing. Can you see the disconnect? So this is some of the things that can happen if you don't question your beliefs. You see, the problem with this belief is it can have you struggling so that you are actually doing everything on your own and you don't seek any help. You may believe that as death and loss are normal, why would you need help? After all, isn't grief a normal response? Why would you? You will be fine in a few months' time, you think, once you and your life are back to normal. You may have had initial supports with your friends and family, but you may have discovered after a while they seem tired of hearing about your loss. And you may even be aware of how they feel, so you yourself stop sharing. Or they may have been offering their support, but you were unable to accept their offer, feeling like they are intruding on your life. Or perhaps you're not allowing yourself to receive because you are much more comfortable being the giver, and besides, receiving help from others makes you feel uncomfortable. You could even begin to isolate yourself away as a way of dealing with your pain, and doing so can actually cause you to feel even more alone and that no one cares about you. You may believe that you don't even need anybody and you can do it on your own. However, this attitude can cause you to put all your energy perhaps into your work, you work long hours, or you overcare for the people around you. Then you might find yourself eating, drinking, or even smoking more. Anything to numb your pain and stop yourself from thinking, feeling, and being alone. Your life seems to be spiraling and you're falling deeper into the hole. Now you're unable to sleep. You lie awake and finally exhaustion sets in, or perhaps depression. Your life now becomes one of a mere existence. You can become like that wounded animal that lashes out if somebody tries to help you because now you're angry and frustrated. How many can relate or have had experience of any of these scenarios? Yes, indeed, I'm sure many of you have. So what can you do? I find understanding what you're doing and why is a great first step. When I was researching for the book Grief's Abyss, I researched a lot of other faiths, and the Jewish faith was one that I now have a much better appreciation, because when a loved one dies, it's their community that get together to help family members who are grieving. They cook, they shop, and they care for them. And this frees the family of everyday distractions and allows them to just be with their loss. So from this example, you can see that taking time in the early days is recommended and it helps you heal. You may have found yourself shutting yourself off and isolating and not even wanting to get out of bed. This may be what you needed initially, but after a while, it just isn't helpful. If this is you and you have a hard time getting yourself moving, then perhaps just begin by taking some small action steps. Doing something daily does help you focus on you and your needs and not be so focused on your loss. Your mind needs a break every now and again from the heavy grief. Hopefully, by now, you are seeing why it's important that you allow yourself to be supported. If you don't have a good friend or a family member who could be there for you, then you may want to find a local support group. Being with others who have experienced a death can in itself be healing, and as it allows you to share your feelings and they understand where you're coming from. When you connect to others with shared experiences, it is natural to bond and make friends. And this type of connection does wonders to how you feel. You see, we all want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged, and having somebody supporting you allows for the release of dopamine and serotonin. These are the bonding, feel-good hormones, and these are the hormones that are very hard to access when you're grieving. So once you have your supports in place, you can then begin to take a look at adding some pleasurable activities back into your life. Why not make a list of activities you like to do or pick up hobbies you did before your loss? There's also, actually, this is a really good time for you to go to the library or your local bookstore and check out what books there are on grief so you can deepen your understanding. I find reading and learning more about what grieving is and how others have coped and healed can actually give you the hope and encouragement that you may be needing now. Or why not make yourself feel better by watching a funny movie or tune into the comedy channel to get into laughter? Grief is such a low, heavy emotion, and it can be made a lot lighter when you laugh. And as you laugh, this can raise, again, those feel-good hormones. I do hope you're beginning to get the idea. After the death of somebody I knew, her son, she joined a local support group to help her through her pain. And she found it was very helpful that in the end, she ended up taking their course so that she could continue to stay there and be a support to others. When you can focus on someone or something else, this action alone can help take your mind off your own grief. So you begin to see your grief isn't taking over your life and seeping into every aspect of it. You get to forget about that for a moment. Getting involved when you feel ready is just one of those great action steps you can take. I love journaling, and I find when you journal, this can help you clarify your thoughts, which may appear dreadfully jumbled when you begin. And as you begin to write, it's a way of allowing yourself to get out of your head, and it links your head and heart together. Again, this is what you need for healing. Often as you write your thoughts and feelings down, you can have some, what I call aha moments. And these insights in themselves can be helpful in lifting your mood. Grieving doesn't have to be a lone action. This is where I should have mentioned at the beginning, if you have a journal or you want to think about what I have just said, are there any thoughts that have risen that I haven't mentioned? Just pop them down. What steps are you planning to take now that you have a little bit more awareness? And did you have any aha moments? I'll give you a few moments so that you can reflect. Okay, let's move on to belief number 2. Putting on your own mask. This is considering yourself first. I'm sure you have flown in an aeroplane and you know the flight crew always stress the importance as they go through the emergency drill that in the event of emergency, It's essential that you put on your own mask before helping anyone else. Taking care of yourself first applies to many of life's stresses, especially grief. We all can feel the stress, and it's easy for it to accumulate in today's fast-paced world. And it's so easy to get caught up in the cycle. You can go to bed tired and wake up tired. Why? Because your body isn't able to fully relax. How can you help anyone else when you're running on adrenaline, or worse still, on empty? When you're stressed, it's the adrenaline and cortisol that are being released by the body when it's preparing to help you flee or fight in a given situation. Why is it so important, you may well ask? Taking care of others is one of those pieces that comes very natural to women, and why you need to question your beliefs. It's important that you take time to take care of yourself. Often it can give you a sense of control when nothing in your life appears controllable anymore. It can give you something else to focus on. Perhaps you may care for others because it gives you a sense of yourself, and it may even give you or your life meaning, as all of a sudden you feel needed. It can give you purpose. It can also become a form of escapism, because you aren't focusing on your own pain. So there's a difference from wearing yourself out, believing you're helping others, and it can also be seen as a form of denial, as you keep yourself so busy so as not to deal with your own emotions and feelings. Taking care of others is a good thing, but only once you've taken care of yourself. There's a famous author called Byron Katie, and I just love her work. And she mentions in one of her books that there are three kinds of business: your business, God's business, and others' business. So when you're taking care of others, whose business are you in? Who's taking care of your business? It's almost as if your body is running around all on its own as you're over there taking care of others. So we very often, we can wear ourselves believing that we're helping others when actual fact we are not. So it's essential that you realize just what you can do and what you cannot do. If you're continually running on empty, then what good are you to yourself or to others? It's only delaying your pain if not dealt with now, as you're depleting your energy further. And here are some of the benefits of self-care. Taking care of yourself is a first step in learning to love yourself. Taking time for you is so important, especially in the first few weeks when your stress levels are high, dealing with the death, the funeral, or even settling the person's estate, especially if you're the executor. This alone is enough to make you want to remain under the covers. Taking daily action steps to get you going is so essential, and it's important to move you and your emotions and the stress out of your body. You may want to take some daily action steps. You may even want to go to the gym, even walk in nature, or take a yoga class, or perhaps go back to the gym if that was your routine. How about relaxing in a bath, and go to bed when you feel tired instead of doing an extra load of laundry. Ask yourself to ask for help when you need it. You know, your needs are important, and it is okay to ask for them to be filled or to take steps to fill them. Nobody's going to turn you away, I'm sure. What about getting a good massage? That's an excellent way to feel your body. Our bodies need human hugs and touches. And when somebody close to us has died, it can often be the hugs and the close contact that you miss without even realizing it. And a massage therapist know that when somebody who is grieving, they can begin to cry once they're on the table. This is fine with them, and I just mention it so that you won't be alarmed. I know massage isn't for everybody, but it is a good way, and I do recommend it. If you work outside the home, it's even more essential that you begin to take care of yourselves, because the demands of the job can be especially taxing on your limited energy reserves. You may want to look into using up some holiday time or even sick leave if you're not functioning well at work. Do speak to your boss or manager and let them know what is going on. You don't need to tell them everything, but it is best to be upfront with them. And it may be that you need help and you may not want to take on some special projects. You may find that you can work flexi hours or have somebody to team up with to help you. It certainly isn't realistic to expect yourself to even cope at home or at work during these early days of your grief. Let go of the need to have your house cleaned and perfect. Relax your standards just for now. These are just a few reasons why women can get so emotionally drained. They keep pushing through rather than realizing perhaps they just need a cup of tea and sit and allow whatever needs to come. And very often, if they don't, it can result in them getting stuck in the cycle of grief because they don't have the reserves even to process their grief. Again, if you would like to take out your journals and just jot down anything that's popped into your mind, you may have thought of something that I haven't even mentioned that you think would be good for you. And then what steps might you be planning? And how about any of those aha moments? Did any of those pop up? I'll give you a few moments just to review and think about this. Okay, here we have it. Belief number 1, friend or foe. I feel we need a drum roll here because we finally reached belief number 1. And I think this is the most important one. If we were only taught about our emotions at an early age, I'm sure you would you wouldn't find yourself in the other 2 beliefs. These are all distractions for what you really need to do, and that is to grieve. We have become so afraid of our so-called negative emotions only because nobody has taught us, our parents or their parents, of how to even deal with them. So emotions, both positive and negative, as we like to label them, they truly are our friends and they're necessary for our survival. And if we don't question this belief, then we can, I don't know, get into all kinds of wonderful issues. You see, your grief comes forward naturally when something out of your control has been lost, such as a death. Grieving can also occur when you've lost someone or something of importance. Grieving is your internal feeling of turmoil as all your emotions want to come up and move, and they just get tangled as they all attempt to come out together. So it's very difficult to even recognize what you're truly feeling, only because most of us aren't really familiar in dealing or even separating what our emotions like. Yes, we fear sadness and anger, or we can even go into a depression. We know what these feel like, but there are others, lesser, softer ones that are actually available to us as well. If I were to ask you, how are you feeling? How would you respond? I'm sure you would say, I'm okay, or I'm fine. Yes, this is just social protocol, but often you don't know what you are truly feeling. You may reach for food because without questioning why, instead of asking yourself, why am I, or what am I feeling? It could be you are hungry, but often the reasons are unconscious, such as feeling sad, lonely, or even upset, and you're looking for something pleasurable to fill you up. So when you're in the throes of grieving, which, as I've mentioned, is a heavy emotion, just know its job is to get you to stop, drop to your knees, if you will, so that you can allow yourself to mourn and be inconsolable. You have experienced a loss, and this is natural that you would do so, except in our Western culture, which can, which can actually be so death averse and emotions so embarrassing to witness that we won't allow it. Once you begin to allow yourself to go into the mourning or go into mourning, which really is just that outer expression of your grief, your emotions will begin to flow naturally. And if you allow them, they will come and go quite quickly, just like the waves in the ocean. They flow in and they flow out. This, if you were to watch your emotions, you would discover that's exactly how they come and go. They just want to be acknowledged. This little girl in the picture, I just so resonate with her. My mama told me sometimes people have to cry out their tears to make room for a heart full of smiles. Isn't that true? So sometimes you just have to cry out those tears, and then your heart will feel lighter and you can begin to smile. We all know that sadness is very common. You can feel sad because you will never see or be with the person again. But sadness has another purpose. One of its functions is to slow you down and also process what it is you're sad about. And ask yourself, what perhaps do you need to let go of? Then we have fear. That will arise when your senses have picked up some danger or a threat. And the fear causes you then to be alert as your body prepares to flee. Feeling fear can also be a way of gaining control when you actually feel that you don't have any. You may then fear that you'll have a heart attack or some fatal illness and do everything in your control to ward off the possibilities. You may fear that you will not be able to manage alone because the person you lost did so many of these things for you, and it may be responsible for your happiness. Perhaps you could begin to journal about your fears and see if you can determine what it is it's actually telling you. And then we have anger. Anger is such a normal feeling, of course, to what has occurred. And you can often throw your anger at everyone and all, including yourself, in blame. You can even blame the God of your understanding, and they can become a target for your anger. Again, journaling about what you're so angry about can be so helpful. It was believed that hitting pillows with your fists could be helpful, and I'm sure I've often seen men releasing pent-up anger at the gym with a punch bag. It can feel good to release the anger in this way, and sports or running of any kind are good because they allow the emotions to be released. Anger is actually a good emotion because it can motivate you and move you along. How about jealousy? Jealousy can also appear, especially when you see others who have what you yourself do not. Could be you notice a couple or others who are enjoying their parents. Jealousy, the green-eyed monster, can be a good thing to pay attention to because you know what? It is just showing you what you feel you lack or something is missing in your life, so you can take steps to do something about it. Oh, feeling guilty is really a feeling of shame for what you didn't do. We tend to confuse guilt with a feeling instead of a legal term. Someone is either guilty of a crime or not. The truer feeling is shame. You have broken your own code over something you feel is important and you didn't do. Without feeling shameful, you wouldn't be able to adjust your moral compass. I know this has been quick, but I hope it has given you some insight into your emotions and has helped you be less afraid of them and more willing to embrace your grief. Of course, if you have the opposite and cannot stop crying, and this has been going on for many months or even years, perhaps it's time you seek medical professional advice because there could be a lot more going on than what is termed normal grief. Yes, there is such a thing as complicated grief. However, I won't get into that here. Just know that this could happen if you don't take care of yourself and your grief. That was a lot of information. As I mentioned, I went through it rather quickly. Can you name your emotions right now? What is it you're feeling? Have you denied or pushed down or emotionally eaten or had too much to drink to numb your pain? Did you have any aha moments? And what steps are you committed to doing now? Let's just quickly recap some of the key points. You now have the understanding and information on why it's important to not go alone and why you need to be supported on your journey. It is good that you also have tools and information so that you can happily fill up your own tanks before setting out to help others. Lastly, I spoke a lot of how emotions are all needed, and the ones we believe to be negative are every bit as important as our positive ones. Those ones we're all very comfortable with. I hope this will bring a lot more awareness of your situation and how you can begin to help and heal yourself. First, with supports, taking time and including self-care into your routine. And third, taking time to understand your emotions. Even if it's just noticing them when they do come up, take a deep breath and just allow them to come and go freely. Let them be welcome visitors in your life. So, your next steps. As promised, your next steps, if you are waiting to explore more ways to help you understand your grieving process, then you may be interested in my new webinar training, which is a set of 4 videos or webinars, a bit like this one. And these trainings are interactive and they're called Finding Self After Loss, Transition and Transformation. And this series is designed so that you can continue your journey to take you from victim to being a hero on your own life. As mentioned, these trainings are interactive with handouts and, yes, homework. As you continue your grieving journey, you will discover other ways you can keep yourself from healing if you're not aware of them. There is so much more to your journey than the pain and sorrow. First, it starts with understanding and awareness, and now you have a great good start with this webinar. It is really about changing your perspective and seeing it more as an exploration. Yes, you are grieving a loss or the loss of a loved one, but you are also discovering so much more about the process. There is magic, the alchemy of doing deep grief work. You get the benefits. You will discover it becomes more about you. You will always have the memories of your loved one, but you will learn to transform your pain. And who knows, perhaps you too will create a legacy as I did. Now, the Transition and Transformation series, as I mentioned, is a set of 4 webinars. And the investment for these 4 trainings is normally $197. But if you sign up after this call, it is $97. You can have all 4 of them. I plan to create a Facebook page so that you can ask questions. I will be popping in there from time to time, or you can befriend me at DeButte and I will pull you through to the right page. It's good to have a community of like-minded people, as I've mentioned. And if courses aren't for you, then let me introduce you to Reconnect from Grief, which is my coaching service. And you can sign up and we can do a series of coaching. So there's many ways that you can reconnect to yourself and get the support you need. Take action and believe you can heal your heart. We have come to the end, and I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to you. I thank you for your time and spending it with me. And I do hope that we'll talk, or I'll see you on at another session. And just so you know, my happiest moments are when my clients stop being my clients. If you're interested, you can sign up for a Healing Heart session. It again is free, and we discover on that session whether coaching or I'm the right coach for you. If this is of interest to you, here's the link to my agenda, and you can book a time and a day that's convenient for you. Here is the link again for the Transition and Transformation series, for the Free Healing Heart session, and as I mentioned at the beginning, your free grief inventory guide. If anybody has an iPhone or other cell phone, this would be a good time to get it out and take a snapshot of this slide. If you're interested, if it's gone all too quickly, you can always email me at DeButte.com. You'll find links to connect with me there. Thank you again, and I hope to see or hear from you soon. Bye-bye for now.